Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight, this Tuesday night. Apologies about the slight delay. We had a wee bit of a connection issue getting Mr. McLeish on board there. But thank you very much for joining us. And for those that have been continuing to engage with us over the last 10 days, coming off the back of a fantastic night last night with Harry Redknapp. We did lose him, as you know, for a while, but he came back. Fair play to him, and it was a very, very good night. So, as I said, tonight we're in the company of former Rangers boss and Scotland manager Alex McLeish. And looking forward to engage with Alex. And here we have him. Alex McLeish, how are you, pal?
Yes, I'm good, lads. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on your show. Happy to be on. Following in the footsteps of Sir Harry.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we're just saying we had an eventful night with Harry last night, Alex. So it's been, it was good night, man. We're in good company with yourself tonight. So I do appreciate you giving up your time tonight, mate. Can I just say as well to a big thank you to the guys up on the longest 40 tonight in Scotland here broadcasting this. Without them, it wouldn't be possible. So a big thank you to John and the Colin and the boys. Alex, as I say, fantastic having you, mate. Difficult times at the minute for us all, and I think it's obviously the SPL was obviously confirmed yesterday. I think probably whether decisions needed to be made or not, I think it's just going to probably be a long time before we're really seeing football on our TV screens again.
Yeah, it's so bizarre these days, and you see the Germans going back to football, and then you think, well, isn't that the cue for us to go back? Could we have went back in the Premier League in Scotland? And it looks very much like that they're going to go back in England also. So there's a lot of debating going on. The Dutch League have declared. So you can hear me all right, boys?
Yeah, got you, Alex. Yeah.
Aye, the Dutch leagues, the Belgian league have decided. It's I guess the FA's, called the shots, and well, we don't agree with a lot of it. That is what it is, and there's no turning back.
Yeah. No, very much so. It's difficult times, and we'll turn the attention to yourself, Alex. Obviously, an incredible career you had, player and a manager, and we'll come to the managing side in time. Probably something unique, Alex, that we don't see in the modern game. You stayed for near 16 years at one club, near 500 appearances at Aberdeen, and your honours list is incredible. What you won as a player, absolutely incredible, mate, and a massive part of your life, no doubt, your time at Pittodrie.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, and we've been talking about it in recent days because of anniversaries, that type of thing. Gothenburg a few weeks ago, and now we're into Scottish Cup final weeks, and everybody's remembering those games, and also the winning the championship for a small kind of, okay, Aberdeen's a big city, but for a small, in the eyes of everybody, provincial club to usurp Rangers and Celtic was quite a remarkable feat at the time. And Alec Ferguson obviously went on to amazing things afterwards. So it did feel that when he arrived, we were feeling as if, I think we're going to have success in this Alec Ferguson era.
Yeah. Well, we'll take this one, Steve. Thank you very much indeed for texting tonight, Steve Glasgow. Hi, Alex. What was it like having Sir Alex as a manager?
Well, he was. He came hot on the heels of Ali McLeod was the guy who signed me. Then Billy McNeill came for a year, and Billy McNeill was Aberdeen were runners up in all three competitions. And so you think Billy's had a really good season, but his calling card was Celtic, and they went back there. And then Alec Ferguson came, and he was an absolute whirlwind. He rubbed people up the wrong way very early doors. Willie Miller, people like that. The guys who were in the team already. I wasn't quite in the team at that time, but I could tell the players were kind of trying to get used to Sir Alex's ways, and then all of a sudden Sir Alex, he's brilliant man management, and he realised he's got to change a little bit. He came from St Mirren and maybe compared some of the St Mirren players to Aberdeen players. Willie Miller took offence when he was compared to one of his rivals at St Mirren. Willie, Willie was such a top player, and I guess he had reason to kind of question that. But Sir Alex quickly changed. He got the players on side, but also everybody knew who was boss, and that was the main thing. And there was little things, when we used to go down to Glasgow, he would say, there was the small details and things like when you get a throw in, take it quickly, because Rangers and Celtic think everybody's going to slow the game down when they go and visit Ibrox and Parkhead or Celtic Park, and Alec kind of changed that attitude for us, and we started to get amazing confidence from that, because it did put the opposition on their back foot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously the success you had as a player, Alec, was sensational at your time under Sir Alex at Aberdeen, and you go into management yourself, and great grounding in Scotland for you, obviously, in your early days, and ultimately your stock's rising as a manager, and you end up at Ibrox. As a manager, Alex, and you look back now, what was it that drove you as a manager? What was it that particularly you loved about the job, and going in working with players, and obviously getting results on a Saturday? But you obviously had a clear passion for going into management. You know what I mean? For a long time, had you?
Well, I actually thought I would have a different career path. I thought that possibly my coaching era would be, below a top manager. That was kind of the career path that I was thinking about. But all of a sudden, when my contract was up at Aberdeen, Wally asked me to stay on another year, but I felt that it was time to go and do something else. And out of the blue, Motherwell Football Club came and asked me to be player manager, and I did play a few games, not too many, because I had a wonderful team there, and we had a brilliant season. Sandwich and Rangers, who were the champions, and Celtic, who ended up third. So it was amazing, and I thought football management's dead easy. And then you found the hard way, when you have to recruit again and replace fantastic players and players who have got great experience, players who have a lot of the answers, not them all, but then you have to replace them with young players who don't have all the answers, and they have to be a learning process for them. So that was my first kind of managerial stint, and and aside from going into being an assistant coach, a manager, I was plunged into the deep end, and I don't think it did me any harm. I had some great times, great success as a manager in Scottish football with some fantastic teams.
Yeah, no, very much so, Alex. We'll take this. Sturdy McGill, thanks for texting tonight. Alex, what is your greatest football and highlight? European Cup glory with Aberdeen in '83, or helicopter Sunday with Rangers in 2005, or is there anything else? Thank you for texting tonight, Stuart.
As a player, then there's no doubt about it. It was the European Cup Winners' Cup final. To go in head to head with Real Madrid, then after beating Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals, was just something to behold, and to actually go on that pitch, and took it to extra time, but we dominated the game, and it was the most incredible feeling I've ever had as a footballer. And then, of course, we had managerial highlights that were out of this world, and spine tinglers that I'd never ever had before, and even as a player. A certain one called Helicopter Sunday, and also winning the league title against Dunfermline, and then the following week doing the treble, which these are things you can only dream about. It was amazing for me to grow up as a young kid in Glasgow, to think that one day I could do that for Rangers Football Club.
Yeah. And ultimately, Alex, at Rangers, you managed some incredible talent. Was there anyone at Ibrox during your time there that specifically stood out in terms of what they brought ability-wise, what they brought in the dressing room, and just being a general leader, and someone that you would look to in terms of being a massive player for Alec McLeish?
Yeah, well, one of the first things I did when I was appointed, I called Lorenzo Amoruso, because he was out of favour with Dick Advocat, and he had an injury at the time as well, and he was, I think, back in Florence getting some treatment, and he was out of the Rangers team. And one of the first things I did was call Amoruso, and I said to him, instantly he said, "Hey, boss, He says, "How are you? Good luck, good luck." And I said, "Listen, I need you back in this team, big man." And
Alex, can you hear me there?
Amoruso
Wee second.
back,
Sorry for interrupting you, mate. Sorry for interrupting. Can you see me there, just with the camera there, mate? Can you just sort of I don't know maybe what way the phone is holding.
You need the camera.
There we go. We've got you now, mate. We've got you now. There we go.
Well,
Gentlemen, there we go. Sorry for interrupting you there, mate.
See me on camera.
You're fine, mate. You're fine. There we go. Work away, bro.
Yeah. So Amoruso, he said, "Look, I'm going to get fit for you." And things didn't quite work out for him with Dick Advocat in the last parts of his career before me. And then, we had a brilliant relationship, and he was tremendous in the dressing room. But I had so many good players there, top class players. Barry Ferguson could live with any midfielder in the world, play in any stadium in the world. He was such a great Scottish footballer. And then, guys like Ronald de Boer, who Ronald was used to play number 10, but I said, I've got to play up front, Ronald, because you can make things happen in the last third. We're too slow in getting the build up. We need to play the game faster, and we get it up to you in the last third, then you can make things happen. And of course, that was a time when Mikey Mols was struggling to get his fitness back. But Arthur Newman, top players, and I could go through the whole lot of the team and compliment every one of them. But we had amazing players, and you obviously remember Fernando, who God rest his soul, he was top again in terms of when I made him captain. He actually became the peacekeeper. He when people were fighting on the pitch, as he used to do, he was the guy who broke it up when I made him captain. So these were great turnarounds, and some tremendous players.
No, even just listen to you rhyming off some names there, mate, absolutely incredible. You know what I mean? And I can only imagine, the dressing room, and ready to go to battle, mate. Absolutely powerful names, and so good for Scottish football. Gareth Clement, thank you for texting in tonight. Alex, how you doing? Were you ever directly on the receiving end of the hairdryer treatment from Sir Alex? And is the reality on a par with perception supporters are led to believe? Good question, Gareth. Thanks for that tonight.
Yeah, of course. Not too many times. There was. I think he hit the forwards more than he did the defenders. Because he knew we were more consistent, and Willie Miller, myself, Stuart Kennedy, fantastic fullback. John McMaster when he went to left back, and then Dougie Rugby when he did have a wee go now and again, but he reserved it mostly for the creative players. He kept demanding more out of them, but he's the hairdryer stuff was a bit mythical, but he knew how to lay into you, that's for sure.
Alex, obviously during your time at Rangers, you took them out of Champions League group stages, which was obviously a fantastic achievement, and probably near the latter stages of your time at Rangers, maybe results just didn't go in terms of the way you would have liked them. Is that something that the weight was heavier at a club like Glasgow Rangers, Alex, as opposed to any other club that you've ever managed? And was that difficult for Alex McLeish, the person?
No, it was a challenge. It was always a challenge that I'd looked forward to, and when I went to join Rangers and I met the press for the first time, one of the questions I was asked was, "Oh, you had an underwhelming welcome from the Rangers fans," because I think Rangers fans, obviously getting Dick Advocaat, they maybe felt that the next manager would be another top foreign coach. And when David Murray gave me the phone call, he'd said he'd contacted Hibs, and he said, "I bet you thought you would never get this phone call." And I agreed with him. I thought, no, I thought you were going to go down the road of the foreign coaches. But, I've got to say that when I got that challenge, and that press guy asked me that day, I said, it's up to me to prove the Rangers fans. When he said that, I didn't really feel that there was a a kind of bad reception for me, but obviously one or two would probably dissent. And I said, no, it's up to me to prove to the Rangers fans that I'm the real deal. I'm the guy who can win them trophies again. And that was a brilliant challenge for me. And I was really young and enthusiastic and energetic and absolutely ready for that big Rangers challenge.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, Alex, you know what I mean? There's not too many guys get the opportunity to play for their country, but there's one thing playing and then managing. You've been able to do that, and obviously, again, no doubt the night in Paris for Scotland must live up there, and in the memory for a long time, and McFadden's goal, and must have been a very proud moment that night, and in terms of leading your country as a manager.
Was that the French game you mentioned there? Yeah.
Yeah, the French game, in Paris. Yeah, McFadden when he scored the goal, it must have been incredibly. Wi-Fi must be cutting. So it must have been an incredibly proud moment. Not too many guys get the opportunity to play and manage your country, but you did that, you achieved that, and it must have been an incredibly proud moment.
Well, it was. When I left Rangers, then I thought I had a wee sabbatical, and then when I was offered the Scotland job, you're thinking, am I too young to take that? I still wanted to kind of look at my managerial career in club football, but when you get asked that question, will you come and take the Scotland job? It's really difficult to say no, and so that was a brilliant kind of start for me as well, in terms of getting knowing all the players and starting really well and carrying on where Walter Smith left off. Unfortunately, we couldn't see it through right to the final game, but it was really an exciting time of my career, and to leave Scotland and go into the English Premier League. I know I got a lot of criticism about that, but it was always a dream of mine to manage in the Premier League in England.
Yeah. No, and we'll take this question. Ross Livingstone, thanks for texting tonight. Also, Alex, throughout your first spell at Scotland, if Birmingham was not calling, would you have stayed with Scotland throughout the 2010 World Cup qualifiers?
It was so close, that obviously the 2010 qualifiers, was it not 20? Was that the no? The last game was against.
Yeah.
The last game was against France.
Ross just texted in. He said 2010 qualifiers, but obviously it was obviously for whenever you moved to Birmingham. Obviously, before the qualifiers, mate.
Yeah, well, I moved to Birmingham, I think, in 2009. End of that season, something like that. 2010, but yeah. So yeah, it was round about that era when I went to Birmingham, and we had a great couple of seasons there.
No, and ultimately, just listen to you, Alex. You know what I mean. Your desire and your passion for the game's incredible. Very, we're saying the same thing to Harry Redknapp last night. You know what I mean. In terms of, where you look at the modern game now, Alex, in terms of, Harry was talking last night about you get the players in the right pegs, and players win football matches. Do you think there's too much emphasis now on tactics and analysis of games, and not enough emphasis on just getting good players in the good teams and ultimately letting them go and play and express?
Yeah, I know Harry. Yeah, Harry pretty well, and I know that he talks that way very often. And express yourselves. He always used to use that in the dressing room. Souness was the same. Now, I think tactical wise nowadays, if a player's got to ask you, what should I do next? Once I'd received the ball from the goalkeeper, what do I do next? Well, you've got to say, well, where's your options? The options are, who's going to show for you, who's going to show for you for the next pass. That's what you do next. And it's all about composure and believing in yourself when you get the ball. But unfortunately, there are a lot of incidences when players receive the ball from the goalkeeper nowadays when they're getting caught in the ball, and they maybe make the wrong decision. Sometimes you just have to play the longer ball for in over the top. Guardiola, when he was at Bayern Munich, the teams started to press Bayern Munich, and Guardiola started to play a longer pass. Now, not long ball, a longer pass. So he had beautiful, fantastic deliveries of the ball in his defenders. And, they would ping the ball over the top of the defender. So if the opposition team were up round about the halfway line, then he'd put maybe a long ball, put Lewandowski in behind, and he would finish it off. So that they actually used the tactics against it, and I think that's the key. That when you have a situation, you have to use the right tactic to do it. Johan Cruyff even said in one of his books that if you are an inferior team to a very technical team, then you have to deploy tactics to try and beat that team. And that was very prevalent in my Birmingham City time when we beat Arsenal in 2011 in the Carling Cup final.
Yeah, I remember it well. We'll take this one. A good friend of yours, Alex, is taking us. Craig Brown. He's friendly with the guys up in the longest 40. He's actually texting here. 77 caps, Alex, up for every corner. How many goals did you score?
Well, that's amazing. Every time I see Craig, and every time he asks a question, it's always how many goals did I score? And I never scored a goal. So he's taking the piss out of me there. Yeah, excuse my friend. Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. No doubt you'll get him back, Alex. No doubt you'll get him back, eh? I'm sure he's looked at the honours list you have.
But what I always say to Craig is that I was the rubber duck, I was the decoy, and I made about 400 goals for everybody else. So I never quite got that Lose of Scotland goal, but I made a few goals.
Brilliant, fantastic. Alex, obviously, in terms of, Birmingham to Villa, the move came about, you're the first manager to cross the city to go to obviously Aston Villa. In terms of, the character that must have taken to do that, and I suppose for fans looking in at that, it's incredible that we really don't see opportunities that come. And realistically, as players and as managers, when opportunities come, you really got to grasp them. But how difficult was that moving across the city for you, for your family, and to ultimately adapt to get actually into the actual role of being Aston Villa manager?
Yeah, it was a tough one. But I actually thought about the strategy, when I was offered the job. I thought, right, wait a minute, this is a wee bit like getting the Rangers job, and people saying, oh, there's no way McLeish can do it at Rangers. And I thought, well, what if I can? And that was my answer to the press guy on day one. And what if I can make the fans happy? And I felt that way when I went into Villa. But unfortunately, the rivalry is a little bit like Rangers and Celtic, to be honest. And I wasn't accepted, by certainly a faction of fans. Listen, I've still got great friends, down the Birmingham area, and where I lived in the Midlands, of Villa fans, and we keep in touch, over the years. So, it was a tough season. I did have to downsize, and the story of my life, a wee bit of Rangers as well. I had to downsize wages and and stay in the Premier League at the same time. I don't think it's possible to do that anymore without the money. I would love to challenge top coaches to go to a club and not have any money to spend and be successful at the same time. So I think the main thing was for Villa that season was a transitional season, and the main thing was to reduce those wages, which I did. I met targets, and stay in the Premier League, which also we did as well. We struggled a wee bit in the second half of the season when we had injuries to Shea Given, who broke his collarbone, Richard Dunn, who broke his collarbone as well, Darren Ben, in one of the games, I think 14 or 15 games to go, his season was over. He was a top scorer. And Robbie Keane was on loan, who scored 4 terrific goals for us, and they got us valuable points. Robbie went back to the MLS. So, it was a tough season. No excuses. These are facts I'm giving you. And, when I look back, I'm thinking, how the hell did, Villa stay up? Because to reduce the wages by that level, and also to stay in the Premier League, not by anybody or like 4 or 5 players that would take you to another level, then I look back and I'll say, well, I survived it, and it did hurt a little bit, and in terms of you just want the fans to love what you're doing, and I guess the Villa fans didn't love what I was doing that season. But at the same time, we fought a really tough season. Stilling Petrov, also mid-season, had a terrible illness that we're glad that Stilling's come out of that the right side.
Yeah, no, very much so. Amen, mate. Very much so. Alex, obviously you stood on the touchline in an Old Firm, you know what I mean? And by the way, can I just say, Craig Brown's actually just texted in to say thanks for answering his question, so I'm sure you'll have a bit of banter with him later on that one. You obviously being involved in Old Firm games, Alex, and the intensity of that, the atmosphere that must create as a manager when you're leading your team out of the dressing room to go to obviously battle with Celtic and vice versa. How would you compare the intensity of an Old Firm and then being through into the Premier League and in terms of just the heat of being a Premier League manager? Would managing in the Old Firm nothing compares to that at all? Or how did you deal with that, and especially living in Scotland?
No, obviously respect the Premier League very much, the English Premier League, and to play at venues like Manchester United and Arsenal's, Tottenham, all over the country, then it was a great privilege, and it was a dream of mine, as a kid to be active in these places. But to be honest, the Old Firm game is just like something else. It's incredible, to witness. When people ask me, what's it like, you've got to be in that dugout to really experience it, and to be part of it. It is an amazing venue, fixture between the two clubs, and they play each other so many times, and have done over the years, and shared cup finals, shared league championships. They are an amazing combination, and for me, there's when we had Rio Ferdinand and guys coming up, when I was at Ibrox, and at the end of the game they come into the lounge, we said hello, and they said never seen anything like it. You know, they've never seen anything like it.
Just the
And these guys have
it,
played through derbies as well. Yeah, they you know, they've played through derbies as well. You know, the Man United, Man City, etc., and Leeds and whoever. But they said when they experienced the Old Firm atmosphere that they'd never seen anything like it.
Alex, just on the Old Firm, Gareth Ferry has texted in. What was a good feeling when yourself and we, Gordon Strachan, were no longer rival managers during the time you managed the Old Firm?
Yeah. So, sorry, what was the first part of that?
Gareth, was it a good feeling when yourself and we and Gordon Strachan were no longer rival managers during your time when you managed the Old Firm?
Yeah. It's funny, Gordon. When he first came to Celtic, he said, "Yeah, we were at Ibrox after the game, the first game or something," and he said, "Look, we need to get out with our wives some night." And then fast forward a year, and Gordon said, I see why you haven't contacted me, big man." He said it's so intense that you know we can't do it. So we've done it since. We've done it since.
Brilliant, fantastic.
In that particular era, it was difficult.
Yeah, can only imagine. Ross Livingston has texted in here. Ross, thanks for your text tonight. Alex, thanks for the Hibs wins over Hearts, especially the 6-2 win. That was a nice 10th birthday present I have ever received. So Hibs fans texting in there. So thank you, Ross, for texting tonight.
That was a pleasure and one of the best games I've ever seen. One of the best performances I've ever seen. I actually visited Frank Sosie, who was our middleman in the back three, the sweeper, if you like. And Frank was absolutely sublime that night, along with Patalainen, Russell Latapy, John O'Neill. You know, there were so many star players on that evening for Hibs, and they were. It was one of the best games I've ever had to witness, and the pleasure of that victory was something that I think the Hibs fans will live with forever.
Yeah, funny, we were talking pre-show actually about Sousa. You brought him into Scotland and just the effect that he had at Hibs during his time there, Alex. So yeah, there's some cracking players at Hibs at that time too. Alex, you've managed some top players. You can just listen there about Robbie Keane and stuff. Who for you has been the best player, or can you single out anyone that for you has been the best technical player? Alex is texting tonight, or Tom is texting tonight. Say, Alex, who has for you has been the best player that you have managed or coached in your time in management? Thank you, Tom, for
that. Probably the best player. You know, listen, I love Barry Ferguson, I love Dan Russo, but when I changed Ronald de Boer from number 10 to number 9, then I saw what Ronald could do. You know, he was one of these guys where even if the ground was hard, you know, it was a frosty day, it was almost as if he was on slippers. You know, it was very easy. He seemed to have a fantastic empathy with a football pitch. And that season that we won the treble, Ronald was absolutely phenomenal. I think he admitted himself in a recent interview that it was probably the best year of his career in terms of his production and what he could do with the ball and how he could bring others into play. And it was such a pleasure to work with Ronald that season and to see what the man could do at close range. He was outstanding. I know he had some knee difficulties, and the next season we lost them. But for him to have excelled that season the way he did in the treble-winning season, he was probably the best player that I'd ever witnessed in my managerial career.
Huge praise, man. Huge praise considering who all you've under your wing.
Yeah, I also had, you know, if you're talking about the best signing, then you know, I didn't sign Ronald, but the best signing was probably Big Dado. Dado, a free transfer, and he was an absolute legend in Rangers colours. He just loved playing at Ibrox, and he was injured for a long time in the season, that I left, and he was just an absolute soldier, a soldier. The first day we had him in the pre-season training, we asked the new players to sing a song, and he came out with a "Living on a Prayer," he smashed it. He smashed it, and I knew then we have some character in this team.
Brilliant, brilliant. Alex, in terms you touched there in terms of that he was one that you actually didn't sign. In terms of obviously whilst you're in management, and in terms when it comes to transfer deadline day, and in terms of how active were you in terms of bringing players, into the football club, even not only in time in Scotland, but obviously when you went to Birmingham, you went to Villa, whereas now more so you're looking at the head of recruitments are doing that, the CEOs are doing that. As a manager, did you feel that you had full clout to bring players in?
Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of left in charge of that. With David Murray at Rangers, we kind of worked together. There was Mikel Arteta, he said, was on the table the day I arrived at Ibrox. We went to watch Mikel. I said, look, I'd like to go and check up on him. Andy Watson went to see him playing for Paris Saint-Germain. He was on loan from Barcelona. And he said he played number 6, Alec. He said, but, it was too easy for him, playing in the French league, and they build up, but the opposition stand off you and let you come out with the ball. So I said, that's not going to be the same in Scotland, because they'll get pressed, and they won't allow you just to walk out with the ball in Scotland. It doesn't happen in the United Kingdom, in English football either. But because the French league was slow, quick, and they had their brilliant technique, then Andy gave him a good recommendation. But I said, there's no way he can play number 6, because we've got number 6, and that is Barry Ferguson. But what we did was, I thought there was a hell of a talent in Arteta, and I also took counsel from Ronald de Boer. And because Ronald's, his affiliation with Barcelona, Ronald says, coach, this guy is absolute fantastic. He says he's going to be the next big thing. And, that helped a little bit as well. I wasn't quite sure, but I found another position for Mikel, and we played him from the left flank coming inside, and it was almost like a narrow midfield 3, and he came inside and allowed Arthur Newman to go outside, and it was a brilliant combination. But Mikel was just a kid. He came in with no pressure, playing amongst absolutely brilliant players, and we had that fantastic season, culminating in his penalty in the last day of the season against Dunfermline. Yeah. But next season was very difficult for Mikel, because he had to be the star man, and he never had all these brilliant players round about him, and that made it a bit more difficult for him. And then that's the learning curve for a top player, and he became a top player. But that was a fantastic learning curve for Mikel, and getting him from. And as I said, I think we were talking about signings and all that stuff, but I never really had a lot of opportunity to sign anybody after that. We were watching the pennies. There's no doubt about it. And then, of course, the next season was a really tough experience in terms of recruitment, when David, as I said earlier, David and I discussed everything. He brought in a few players that I approved, and they were towards the end of their careers, but it was what we could afford at the time, and we tried to do it prudently. Next season was pretty barren, but then the next season, when we prepared really well, We had Dado fixed up in January. We had Boomsong fixed up in January, and we looked forward to the next season, which ended up, as you know, another amazing season.
Mm-hmm. Just on that, Alex Kelly is texting, "Hi Big Ag, would you ever consider going back to Ibrox as possibly number 2 to Stevie Gerrard, or would you think Barry Ferguson could do the job?" Thanks for the travel, Big Ian. So thank you very much indeed, Alex, for texting in tonight.
No, I wouldn't go on as Steve's number 2. I wouldn't mind being around in terms of sporting director or something. I'm not asking for that job at Rangers, but I wouldn't mind that job.
We'll put it out there tonight anyway, Alex. We'll put it out there anyway and see where it goes.
Yeah, if I was going back into football again, then that would be one of the things that I would like to do. It would be sporting director.
Yeah, okay. Because where I was actually leading to, life for Alex McLeish now, Alex, in terms of, you obviously you're still very active in terms of what's going on in the game and stuff. You still go to games, you still clearly got that drive, that appetite to get back involved in the game. And I guess when you're in it for as long as you have, it's became part of your life that you never ever lose that.
100%. I live in London, and I go to a lot of the games in London. And not only Chelsea, who just across the bridge, and Fulham also are very close. But I go down to see Crystal Palace, but also not just Premier League teams or teams that are aspiring to be Premier League teams. I go and see Wimbledon with some friends. Sutton United. I visited just before the corona virus hit the world, and I just love going to see football games, and if I've been a guest at many of these clubs, as I said, but normally I would go and see the Premier League games, but it's nice to go and visit the likes of Wimbledon, which I did a few months ago, and also, as I said, that Sutton game that was right on the cusp of the lockdown.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a Coventry fan, Alex, so I don't like the word Sutton United. So, well, maybe on that note, I'm a Coventry fan, yeah. So I don't like Sutton United. That's a naughty word to me, mate.
Did you say Coventry?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, indeed. So, with bad memories, back in '89, mate.
All right. Oh God, I can't remember now.
Yeah. But look, Alec, I tell you, you've been absolutely fascinating tonight. Just listening to you, engaging with you, and your knowledge on the game. It's been an absolute privilege to have you on the show, and your openness, and I know certainly those watching, will certainly appreciate that. And what I do hope that I do see you back in the game, because you've certainly got so much to offer. And I just thank you immensely for coming on tonight.
It's a pleasure, pal, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me, and I hope your blogs go really well in the next coming weeks, and hopefully there's not too long a shutdown.
Yeah, no, hopefully, look, it's there's obviously more pressing issues going on at the minute in the world, and we just continue to thank the NHS for what they continue to do for everyone, and hopefully we'll start seeing some football back in due time. But look, Alex, top man, appreciate tonight, and I'll be in touch. God bless you, bro.
100%. Cheers, pal.
Thank you, mate. Take care. Bye, mate. So, folks, thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight, as I say, in the company of Alex McLeish, and very in-depth insight into his view as a manager, and it's just fascinating to listen to him there. We'll be back on Thursday night with Premier League legend and Gianfranco Zola. Franco's joined us for 40 minutes, so be prepared, get your questions in, and as always, I'll do my utmost to get through as many as I can. Thank you so much indeed. Take care. God bless you. Thursday night.